listening to the Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are a part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Hi friends, we are back with another episode this week. This episode is part 2 of my conversation with my friend Mary Burke. If you have not listened to part 1, the second part of this episode will not make sense to you. Please go back and listen to part 1 from last week first, and then continue on with this week. I'm going to start with a few seconds of her where we ended last week, just to refresh the memory of what we were covering when I stopped the episode last week. Then you'll continue on with the rest of her story today. I hope her story blesses you. She is absolutely one of a kind. She's such a gem, and I'm so thrilled to have been able to introduce her to you over these last 2 episodes. Please enjoy the conclusion of this 2-part interview with my friend, Mary Burke.
We had a lot of family and friends with us to help, and they gave us choice. Do you want to, stay? Do you need to go home? And home was a little ways away, and I thought, good grief, I go home, I'm never coming back. I'm going to keep them in there forever, and that will be that. But so I knew I couldn't go home, but we had family meet us there, and our midwife was there with us too. Of course, they, kind of tried to help labor get started and get going, and it was slow. It was a slow day, but it just had, just like, even so sad, there were so many moments of, oh my gosh, we're going to meet him. We're going to get to meet him. Not how we wanted to, but yet we were excited. This special kiddo that we, all been praying for so long, and just not knowing how his story would go, how these chapters would go. I remember in the beginning, in the midst of all of that, I wanted to know how this was going to go. I wanted to know right then and there. And I'm so glad that we didn't know right then and there. And we had those many, many, many more weeks and months to have him and to experience that with him. So it was just, like this was how his story was going to go, and this was how it was going to be written. And again, it was that hope. That hope shifted so much, and hour by hour, we didn't get this, but we're going to hope for that. We didn't get that, now we're going to hope for this. And but we ended up, gosh, that was, early in the morning, and then things, it was just a long, long day. And our kiddos were up there with us, and they had a special room for family to be, and they had our room, for us, and they were wonderful. They really were. They knew how to do it. They really knew how to do that. And we were getting to the evening time, and things started to kick in a little more, and he was breech also, which we found that out, on the ultrasound, after, they had confirmed, no heart movement. And so we thought he was head down, but he may have been like that day before, and he could have turned on us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was breech, and wow, he wasn't, so we were 36 weeks, and he was just 3 pounds, 2 ounces, and 14 inches long. So he's just a little tiny little guy, and
very tiny.
Yeah. And it was pretty neat. I had been laboring, and like I delivered, his legs and his little butt, and then things just kind of shut down. Like my body thought, "Oh, we're done. We're done here," and there was a bit of a break, and I think it concerned the doctor a little bit, and because I'm like, okay, well, what do we do now? And so she's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're just going to give it some more time, and so she stepped out to the hallway with the nurses, and probably trying to come up with a plan. I don't know, but and then I just they stepped out. As soon as they stepped out, then I delivered Ian, and it was just us. With I had my mom, our midwife, and my good friend, and my niece was there also, and it was just us, and it was uh, just how it should be,
Yeah.
just they, like gave us our privacy, although I don't think that was intentional. um, but yeah, so he just born in just this amazing support and love, and we just we just oohed and awed over him. It was so sad and so beautiful and amazing and just heartbreaking. It was all of it.
Yeah.
It was all of it. I don't know how it just was for
Yeah.
us. And this,
A very sacred setting. It was just family and your midwife in the room
yeah,
to meet and greet him, you, you know,
yeah,
in the traumatic situation that it was, but yet because of how it happened and who was there, there was just this sense
yeah,
of this is what it was supposed to be. This is
right.
who was supposed to be
Yeah.
here right now.
That divine planning, for us. And
Right.
yeah, actually my niece delivered him, because I'm like, wow,
That's right.
he's on his way. And so she just naturally uh, went to work, and
Right.
he, was born in her arms, and yeah, and then he was quickly in all of our arms, and we had the kiddos came in. They got to come in right away, and Noli he was like 2.5, and he he didn't know. He didn't understand,
Mm-hmm.
everything. Of course, the girls,
Mm-hmm.
they knew everything that was going on because they were plenty old, and so we had just some time. Everybody just gave us our privacy, stepped out, gave us our time with him and with our kiddos, just to take him in as much as we could and love and kiss on him. And then little by little, other family came in, and then it was time. It was late by then, and so um, we we got to have Ian with us. Um, they we delivered there, and then they took us upstairs to postpartum, and I mean, they never separated us, of course, from him, and um, we had him with us all night. And this next part is a bit not normal at all, and had we not done any
Well,
planning.
we'll say unconventional, but
Unconventional,
I
thank you.
think it's one of my favorite parts of Ian's story. If you're going into what I think you're going into,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
take it away.
yeah. So with that, all that planning we had to do, we learned there was an option for us. We did not need to leave Ian at the hospital. We could take him with us, and we were just 1,000%. That's what we should do. We need to take him, and we did that next morning. We got ready. They let us go home, and we came to our home. We brought him to his home, our house, And we had several hours with him here. Again, just the most sacred time with him. And yes, my favorite part too of I am so grateful that that was an option for us to do. And it just seemed like that's what we needed to do. That's how we needed to take care of him. I cannot imagine. And wow, I just for everyone who's had to do that, I can't imagine. I can't imagine leaving my baby. Um, and we're just so blessed that they let us do that. And it was just a matter of a simple form signed, and that was it. And we loved and hugged, and we took pictures, and I think my niece gave him a tour of the house, which we don't have a very big house, but she took him room to room to room, and he, was just loved on unconditionally and just so much. But then, of course, the hardest thing we've ever had to do was get back in the car and then take him to our funeral home. And yeah, that was crazy, crazy hard. Yeah. Letting go, just letting go. And that last touch, whew, that took a long time to do. And they were so patient with us. So they were wonderful. And they just let us take our time with that. Again, so grateful. And just a very hard ride home. And then coming home, and I just was so lost. I just kept looking for him. I'd just be wandering around my home, and I'm trying to find my baby. He
Yeah.
he should be here, but he's not. And so, many hard days. Many hard days after that. Yeah. And we had family here with us, and and I didn't want to be alone. I was scared, even though I had my family, and Bob and the
Right.
kiddos, but I was just too scared. Nobody can leave us, somebody needs to be
Right.
here. And I think probably just to try to help a distraction, for
Right.
us. But we had a lot of family here throughout that time frame, and wonderful friends that loved on us and cared for us. And so but yeah, that's kind of Ian's story.
And I also love that Ian's name is spelled EAN, which is from the
Yeah.
first initials of his older siblings,
Yes.
Emily, Abby, and Nolan.
Yep.
And their initials gave him his name. And it's just, Mary, it's one of the sweetest, most endearing lost stories I've ever heard, even still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So later, we ended up at Faith's Lodge in Danbury, Wisconsin together. And I just would like to give a plug for them here. If you have ever lost a baby, lost a pregnancy, it is a lodge in a beautiful setting. I will say that June, at least when we went, was prime tick season.
Yes.
There were ticks everywhere, but it was
everywhere.
still beautiful. It
It
was
was.
still beautiful.
It was.
But it is a lodge built by bereaved parents for bereaved parents, and they have different kinds of weekends there. It's not just for pregnancy and infant loss parents either. There are traumatic accident weekends, and there are weekends or week stays for entire families, not just couples. So do look into it. I think it's faithslodge.com, but I'll for sure have the right website linked in the show notes of this episode. If you are within traveling distance, well worth the visit. Not only for the activities and the setting that they have available, but for the people that you'll meet when you're there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 11 years later, and here we are still talking and sending Christmas cards and keeping up, and I never would have met you otherwise. So that is a very near and dear place to Brent's in my heart as well. So I want to kind of shift gears a little bit here. You had Emily and Abby and Nolan, and you had one miscarriage between Emily and Abby, but otherwise you have 3 kids and you're parenting along. Did you feel does the Mary today feel like the Mary back then was mothering from this state of kind of bliss naivety?
Right. Oh gosh. Yeah, no, that changed. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh
right.
Yeah.
And so, and I ask that because I still remember seeing the pictures of you having Ian at home, but I remember specifically a picture where Emily, your oldest, is like, she can't even look in his direction, and her face is just it breaks my heart to think about the picture. So hold on, how did your mothering change then? Because you're still trying to be there for these 3 kids of yours. At this point, you've had 2 miscarriages, and now you've buried your son, Ian. Your heart is broken. You see that your kids' hearts are breaking. How were you a mom in those days?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know. Like I said, we just kind of went into survival mode, and Bob's amazing. He is amazing. And through the grace of God's help, and I don't know. It was caring for these tender hearts that, little Noli, he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand why, his mom is falling apart at times. And then the older girls, needing nurtured through this loss of a sibling and how to navigate that. It really was moment by moment a lot. I think the girls, they're very active. They were involved. Abby, avid swimmer. Emily, she's our theater drama. And so I know at the time, she's getting ready for a musical. Abby, swimming her heart out. And I think they were probably pretty good at like, yep, I'm going to just dive into these things, right now.
Right.
But it was a worry how they were managing through that. And, we had talked to their school and to their counselors, please, if you see anything, let us know. Hopefully they would talk to us, but I don't know, because they know we're hurting too. And, might not want to burden us with things. But, they also had I think that sense of pride with, again, his name, Ian, and such a
Hmm.
part of, he's a part of them, a part of us, and, that connection. Um, and I know, again, poor Noli, and we always said, if anybody comes out of this, good, it's going to be Nolan, because he's so, like I said, he was like 2.5, almost 3. And we're
Yeah.
like, hopefully he'll just forget about all this, but oh, the poor buddy, it didn't quite go that way, but that's probably another podcast, but um oh, yeah. So there were a lot of really dark days.
Mm.
And I think I had to call Bob a few times from work. I needed help. And
Yeah.
he was, always there. And it kind of seemed like we took turns with that grieving process. I was my weakest and he would be the strongest. And then he would be the weakest and we would just shift and he'd be the strongest. And um, we tried some support groups and we went a few times. This wasn't probably the best fit for us, all in all. We kind of figured. Um, but yeah, and to answer that motherhood, how different, I don't know how to even describe it. Because I don't know what that was. I
Mhm.
don't know.
There's also something, I'm guessing it was a local news channel. I don't remember all of the details except for I remember you guys were walking maybe through the yard
Oh yeah.
with the
Oh
reporter
yeah.
and
Yeah.
showing the different garden thing. And for the first time that like that ever had happened, a dragonfly landed on your
Oh,
hand while
yes.
do you want to tell that story?
Yes. So this, I don't remember how many years later it had been. I want to say 4 or 5 years later. And one of the local news gals from Madison um, had triplets. And like real early, and they died.
Mhm.
So sad. Oh boy. And one thing that they had done is they had the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep photographer to take photos, and she wanted to do a piece on that group. And again, to try to help bring awareness of like this group exists and it's amazing.
Right.
And we are so grateful for them. And what they do is they take pictures with you and your little one after they passed. And at first we weren't sure, is that what we want to do, like, do we, yeah, but wow, we are so glad we did.
Right.
And
Right.
we are still in touch with our photographer Michelle, which is wonderful gal. And so the local news lady, she wanted to do a piece on that, and Michelle reached out to us wondering if we would be a part of that. So we said yes immediately, but we're also like, oh, wow, what did we just sign up for?
Yeah. Yeah.
And but no, we knew we needed to do that because we're so grateful that that organization exists, and was just phenomenal for us. So we needed to, yeah, we're like, absolutely, we'll do that. So they came, to the house and to do the interview, and just for us to tell Ian's story and how we knew Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep and what our experience was with that, and all that. So it was a beautiful day outside, and we have in our backyard, we have Ian's garden, and we have this space of land that kind of separates the property lines. And we never knew what we were going to do with that. It's just kind of this empty, there were some trees there, but they had to come down. And when we were pregnant with Ian and going through all of this, I just deemed that's going to be Ian's garden. this is going to be his garden, and this is where we're going to plant things and see things grow, and we're going to tend that garden. And it's so therapeutic. So grateful we thought about that to do that. So it's so fitting that we just do some of the interview out in Ian's garden. And when we had designed his headstone, we decided to do dragonflies on the back of it. And we had one larger dragonfly, and then we had two smaller ones. And that just was kind of Ian being the larger, and then the two little ones before him, just to kind of honor them. And so that was kind of just our special little thing. When we were out doing the interview in the garden, there was dragonfly out there, and I was kind of squatted down. We were like we had planted some mums in there, and this little dragonfly, he came and he was fluttering around, and then he came and landed right on my hand during that interview. And he was the most beautiful little red dragonfly ever. And that I'd never seen dragonflies out there, let alone that day, let alone fly around and land in my little, in my hand.
Yes.
And he hung out with us for quite a while out there. So.
And I think also that just adds an element of, I don't know, miracle, comfort, whatever you want to label it, because it wasn't just a news interview to share your story. Like the reporter was also a bereaved mom.
Yes.
And so I'm sure that interview went different from any other bereaved family who has been interviewed by their local news, because most of the time it's just people expressing condolences. Mm-hmm. You get to share your story, but you were in the presence of a reporter who had known similar loss, and then this dragonfly comes. I still remember watching the clip because I remember the shock on your face.
Yes.
When it landed on your hand, and you were like, this has never happened before.
Right.
It was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
It was the coolest thing, Mary.
It was. It really was. And it was a very touching interview to do with Danny. And it similar, like, you get it, she gets it, I get it. Like, we, we get each other. And it was a very special piece to do. And we were honored to be a part of it. And it was beautiful. It was a good interview.
It really was. And so now, what is going through your mind when you've endured 2 miscarriages, had to bury Ian or have a funeral for Ian, and lo and behold, you end up pregnant again?
Yes. Wow. Yeah. No easy task. No. In fact, I remember when we were up at Faith's Lodge, and I know we talked about this, because we didn't know. We didn't know what do we try Faith again? We weren't doing. I wasn't going very well. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Don't you think that, especially that close, like, we were within a year of our loss, obviously, but it feels like your heart can't break any more than it has. And the thought of another chink in the armor is just too much to bear.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, love wins. We weren't gonna let it stop us. Not that was easy to decide on. But I think there's and time frame's different for everybody. And, it took us longer than, I don't know, or not as long, I don't know, but um we it took us a long while to even, like, I think we were both thinking about it, but neither
Mm-hmm.
one of us saying it out loud of should we or shouldn't we. And it took us,
Mm-hmm.
and Bob and I, we talk about everything. Like, I don't really keep a lot of my thoughts in, and but I think we both, and I think part of it was because I was afraid if I wanted to try again that he wouldn't. And I think thought the same thing, like, well, what if we should, she doesn't, and oh, how dare I even think of that, or I don't know, it wasn't
Yeah.
at all like that, but
Yeah.
it's just a lot of just being afraid, being afraid,
Yeah.
and for a good reason, for a good reason. um but we we decided that we weren't gonna, yeah, we were gonna try again. And we did. It took a while. It didn't happen right away, and then that kind of got frustrating. But again, we're kind of getting older too. So that started, oh no, oh no, like, I don't know, maybe we don't get to choose, maybe we don't get a choice. And but lo and behold, pregnant with Madeline. And it, I mean, those feelings, um,
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning and during and all the way until they're here safe and sound, um, but a lot of emotions and a lot of apprehension. But I consciously worked very hard to, this is a different pregnancy. This baby deserves my best, and my best thoughts, my um it, what I gave the others, um it's hard. It's really hard. And then every little, well, I swear there were probably about 4 different times throughout the pregnancy I was certain she died. um
Yeah.
yeah. And oh gosh, I just knew it. But
Mm-hmm.
wow, she wasn't. um and so that, just that constant tug, and that back and forth feeling, I don't know else how to describe. I'm kind of at a loss of words for that too. um I guess just constant, just super vigilant,
Yeah.
but trying to not be neurotic. um but in a sense, like, I didn't care if that's how I came off. Who cares?
Yeah.
you know
Yep.
I went through, what I did. And but um but we did great. Our wonderful midwife, again, we co-managed with a midwife, and then our OB, and they were just wonderful and took extreme good care of us, and patient. And we did it. We got her. We got her.
And so what is Madeline's relationship like with Emily and Abby?
Oh, yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, it's so good. It's so cute. So it's funny because I asked Madeline, I said, "You remember when Emily lived here?" And she does. But I don't think she has a lot of memory of her. But because, let's see, Emily left for college. Oh, I have to do the math really quick in my head. And anyways, she was kind of young. That's been a few
Yeah.
years ago now. And so she was probably 4 or 5, I think, when Emily went off to school. And but oh, those girls, they adored her when she was born. I mean, we all did, of course.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
just elated, that she was here and in our home. And oh, it's so cute. Abby would, um if ever I put Madeline down, and she was born in June, so she was summer baby. So the kiddos were off of school, and um, yeah, if I put Madeline down, heaven forbid, to rest or something, Abby was right behind me, and she'd scoop her up and she'd take her up. I'd find them curled up in our bedroom or curled up in her room, and she'd just be curled up in Abby's arms, sound asleep. And
Yeah.
oh, it's so cute. And Emily, oh, yeah, just adored her little sister as well. And still the relationship now, even they don't live, the girls are out of the house now, and it's like to get to see them is such a big deal. Abby lives here in town, so she's just down the street, but it's still a big deal when Abby's here
Yeah.
and Emily's here, or we go visit Emily. And oh yeah, it's really precious.
So that kind of leads me to my next question then, which is like the dynamic of the whole family when you all get together, you and Bob and your four kids
Yeah.
and Ian's garden and all of that. Like what is the dynamic of your family get-togethers today?
Well, let's see. You want like vacation dynamic or holiday
Well,
dynamic?
yeah, or
There's
like,
lots of dynamics.
let's say everyone, I mean,
Yeah.
there would be lots of dynamics because you span the age range too.
Yeah.
But like if everyone comes home for, Thanksgiving or Christmas, is it are you guys like games family, or are you more kind of popcorn and movies? What is it like when everyone's together?
We're kind of a little bit of everything. Honestly, really, that's how it is. We just like around, just for Christmas, Emily's home, Abby's here. Nolan, he's our busy boy, so he's got to be doing something all the time, whatever that might be, whatever, might be playing the Switch or playing some Minecraft. He loves playing the Switch with Emily. She has a Switch, and he loves connecting with her on that. So they do that together. And we might do board games, like even, Noli and Madeline, we love board games. Some of us might do it and some of us might not, depending, what's happening. Am I in the kitchen making food or not, or, whatever. But
Right.
I want to say it's kind of calm-ish. Not that it doesn't have its moments of eruption of something. Usually it's usually Nolan's in that mix of that somehow. Not to pick on poor Nolan, but but no, he just does a lot, so anyways. So and of course that's changed through the years too, in the earlier days. It was kind of like the girls kind of just like shut themselves in their room, and then we took care of these two little kids. They weren't going to be bothered with these two little kids.
Right.
And and they did, and they'll tell you like, oh, we had to babysit all the time. Like we really abused them. Oh,
right.
No, yeah, but they did. They're like moms. They're moms, really.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I do kind of feel bad for Nolan, because I'm like, well, you kind of have like three moms in the house.
But I also think that's so cool that your girls had the chance and the opportunity to learn how to be a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people now are just, they're out the door after college or high school graduation, into college, career focused. And then when they do have a family, it's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
But your girls had that experience all along. And I think that's so cool.
Oh, I know. I'm so glad they got that opportunity. I'm so glad we provided that for them.
Exactly.
Glad. time we could do that.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, they know how to change diapers. They know how to feed a baby. They know how to burp a baby. They know how to get a baby to sleep. They know how to rock babies. They know. In fact, this is so funny. Emily, she's in the baby room at a daycare center. That's what she's currently doing, which completely floors us. And I think it does her too, but she loves it. She loves it. And she adores
Oh,
those.
that's so
Yep.
fantastic.
But like it was like a no-brainer when she interviewed for it because they're asking her, "Can you do this? Do you know how to do that?" Like, it's okay, we'll teach you. And she's like, or she didn't say it, but she's thinking, "Yeah, I could teach you," but right. But it just is like, well, that's easy, she's like that. I know
Yeah.
how to do that. But so yes, we got to provide that for them.
Oh,
But now
that's so great. And
I think poor Madeline, she doesn't have anybody to take care of now. So I don't know. Maybe one day she'll have little nieces and nephews or something.
there you go.
Yeah.
That will most likely be the case,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Mary, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming and just sharing your whole motherhood journey and experience with me, but with all of the listeners, and just sharing it with such grace and transparency. It's been an honor to have you as a guest.
Oh, well, Val, thank you for having me. It's been an honor being a part of this, and it's amazing what you're doing, and I am really enjoying listening to the podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head on over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow the Motherhood Experience on Facebook and Instagram, and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.